Alice is a free 3D programming environment for games and videos. It was developed for college and high school students in an introductory computing course in order to teach basic programming concepts and spark interest in computer science. Alice focuses heavily on visuals, and the majority of the code is done via drag and drop, the result of which is seen in the 3D world display. So the way the Alice programming environment is set up is that on the top left corner you have a hierarchy of objects that are currently contained in your world. You can access these objects individually and see their properties, methods, and functions. You can also have overall world methods that you can then edit at the bottom right corner of the screen. Then you can add these onto the events that are listed in the top right corner of the page.
There are many strengths to Alice, and it's used as a teaching tool. One of the most important benefits of Alice is that it encourages interest in computing. Alice presents an inviting 3D environment for users to work in as opposed to walls of text. Alice also has a low barrier of entry, allowing new users to get up and running with the software. It provides many tutorials teaching users the ins and outs of the software and telling them what they need to do to create their own world or modify one of the worlds that Alice provides. Alice also teaches concepts as opposed to rote sets of instructions. It teaches the user to visualize programs in terms of checklists, do this, then do that, and as strong error catching to prevent errors that users may not understand, such as dragging a method into itself, which will cause a recursive call, is caught by Alice, and it tells the user this immediately. This allows the user to decide whether they meant to do this or whether it was a mistake, without them having to suffer the consequences. It also prevents the user from creating improper names, such as leaving an empty space at the end of a name will cause the text to turn red and cause the OK button to be grayed out, preventing the user from continuing until they fix their mistake, which is a simple backspace. Another benefit of Alice is that it hides many programming semantics which may be difficult for new users and introductory CS students to understand. It presents them in easy to understand ways. It presents users with the ability to control Boolean logic and randoms and things like that, but without having to understand all of what everything does.
Now we are going to talk about the weaknesses of the Alice application. The first weakness that we found was that it does not give you the option to see semantics or code. So if we open a method, and we're going to open the defending naptime story, we open this method, it breaks the method down into different functions, but it doesn't give you a side-by-side of the actual code to the visualization of the code per se. So we think this would allow for much better transferability, which is something that Alice is striving for, and therefore we would argue that this is one of their downsides. Further to that, as a teaching tool, we found that it provides very bad debugging because it no longer can point to lines of code, and it may therefore become more difficult to understand what is going wrong. Further to that, we also found that you were being talked down to, that the application is simply too childish. Lastly, we felt that the use of the media side of computing to teach introductory computing may not be engaging to everyone. But what we mean by this is that using media and 3D worlds may be engaging to a lot of people, but some people may simply not like the idea of 3D worlds or computer graphics. They may not be in computer science for that, and to them it may simply not be as engaging.
After examining the Alice program, we've come to the conclusion that it is a very good program, albeit one that has a few problems. For example, the issues with the interface as well as the lack of transparency in the code. However, we feel that these issues can be corrected in software updates and program expansions instead of simply being tolerated in the long-term program. So the question remains, is Alice effective in accomplishing its two stated goals? Engaging the interests of students who are learning computing, and does it teach transferable computing concepts? We feel that Alice accomplishes both of these goals effectively, and that it will teach students techniques that they can use in their further education, as well as getting them interested in computing in the first place.